Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jared, and I am a Senior Systems Specialist with Unique HR. First off, I'd like to welcome you to this session of webinar training for our new portal. We're very excited to have you join us today. The new portal will be launching in spring of 2024, and we will be announcing an official go-live date in the upcoming weeks. Today's webinar session will be a review of the PTO request functionality, as well as the employee list section of the portal. This webinar, along with future webinars, will be recorded and made available for review at a later date. Please have patience with us as we edit these and get them uploaded. Before we jump into the portal, I'd like to point out that if you have any questions today, please use the Q&A feature. We will have a moderator who reviews and responds back to your messages. If our moderator cannot answer everything today, we will follow up with you afterwards via email. If you think of any additional questions after the webinar is over, please reach out to clientrelations@uniquehr.com. With that, let's go ahead and jump into today's session. And of course, the first thing we need to do when accessing the new portal is to log in. This is our login screen for the new portal. It's as simple as entering the username and password. You can then select login, and you'll see there are two options for verification. There is the use challenge questions option or the send verification code option. The send verification code uses either email or text, and it will send you a code that you can enter. I'm going to go ahead and enter the challenge question answer here that we have set up. Once you enter that verification, you can click agree to the disclaimer, and you are now in the dashboard of the new portal. There are a few things I do want to cover regarding the dashboard and navigation before we jump into the focus sections of today's webinar. First and foremost is navigating around the dashboard and portal itself. That will primarily be done on the left-hand side over here via the navigation menu. If you ever are in a different section of the portal and you want to return to this home screen and the dashboard, you can choose the home option here or the home icon here at the top right. Again, navigation will be done primarily on the left-hand side. You can click on each of these sections. Any that do have a little arrow can be expanded and viewed further, and you can click into these sections. Now on the dashboard here, you'll see a bunch of different sections containing different information. Each one of these little sections is called a widget. And there is some customization we can do with this. We have the option of actually hiding or moving the widgets. So for example, I will toggle that one, and it's as simple as clicking the little three dots here if you want to hide a widget. You can also move widgets around by clicking and dragging. There are 4 buttons here at the top near the dashboard section. Each one has a different function. There's a little question mark that you can hover over that explains the functionality of each button, and I'm going to go over these briefly. The first is to add available widgets. Now, if you have any widgets that are available to be added to your dashboard here, you can select this and it'll show you the ones that are available. These are actually the 2 I just hit, so I'm going to turn one of them back on. You'll see it went back to where it was previously and the calendar got bumped down, and we'll touch on that in just a second. This second button here is the save icon. Of course, if you have made any adjustments and you want to save your layout, it's as simple as clicking this button here, and it'll show your settings have been saved, confirming, and you can click OK. Once you make any changes and save it, this will be the default view once you log in going forward. The third option is to compress grid. Again, you can hover over and see what it does there. This is a useful feature for quickly organizing and making your dashboard look a little cleaner. You'll see all of this blank space here caused by me adding this widget back. If you simply click on the compress grid button, it gets rid of all that empty space and it does its function of compressing the grid, so it's aptly named. And the last but not least button is the reset button. This actually resets the layout of your widgets back to the what I will call factory default. And that is what we first saw when we logged in. So it will get rid of any saved layouts that you have. I'm going to go ahead and click on that here. You'll see it'll give you a warning stating that this will delete any saved layouts you may have. Are you sure you want to continue? And it's as simple as clicking confirm, and you're good to go. I'm going to jump through a couple other things very quickly here before we get going. There is the help section up here. If you click on the drop down here, there's a quick link to a landing page which contains several help documents over different payroll processes. These are provided by the website vendor and will be accurate and up to date. The next section here is the multi-client access section. This will be primarily used for any of you who have multiple companies with us under different maybe client names or company IDs. And if you need to toggle between those, it's a simple selecting change company, and a list of the companies you have access to will be made available here. All you have to do is click on the one you want to access and then click OK, and it will take you to the dashboard of that specified company. You'll see there is also a contact section here. If you open this, it just gives you a quick rundown of your direct contacts at Unique HR and their contact information. There is the user profile section up here. This is the demo client user ID. Your user ID would appear here for yours. If you select the drop down here, you can go to the settings. This is where you can opt in for text verification alerts, email alerts, and you can change your password and security questions here. If you make any changes, it is important to note that you should save them down here at the bottom right. That will be a recurring theme as we go today. Jump back into the dashboard. And last but not least, one of the most useful features we have from the dashboard is the search function here. If you're ever trying to navigate and you're not quite sure how to get to the page you want to go, you can simply start typing a keyword here, such as payroll, for example, and different options will pop up that'll let you navigate directly to it. So if I were to type employee as well, the same would come up here. Now we're going to go ahead and jump into the actual PTO portion of this webinar. First, I'd like to state that this will only apply if you are tracking PTO with us and you opt into using the time off request function in the portal. If you do not currently have a handbook and PTO policy set up with Unique, please reach out to us so we can begin that process and enable this feature for your team. If you do have a PTO policy with us, but you currently use a different method for tracking requests, that option is still available to you, as you can continue to manually enter the PTO hours in the timesheet if you so choose. Now, when you are using this portal's request system, we have a few different features available for you. I would like to state that we can create supervisor logins that have filtered access to specific employees for PTO approval purposes. For example, if you have a group of employees in a certain department that a supervisor has access to, but another does not, we can make sure to create a login so that he can only see those employees and approve that time. Now, to navigate to the time off requests section of the portal, there are a few different ways to do it. Again, the primary way is going to be on the left-hand side here under Manage, and you would go to the Manage Time Off here. And this will take you to the Manage Time Off screen, but I do want to show you the other ways that you can get here really quick. If you have this time off request pending widget available, you can simply click on this, and it will take you back to the screen as well. Now, last but not least, is the time off calendar here. It is a widget that is optional. It is based on client settings and user security. It's important to note that if you opt in for the calendar, it is a client level thing. and is a global feature. So if we turn it on, all employees will have access to it. So it's either on or off globally for your company, and it does show all employees and their PTO time here. You'll see there are a few different color highlighted sections on the calendar here. They are actually color coded for PTO requests. You'll see that green stands for approved PTO, yellow is pending. If there were any blue or red or peach or orange colored, they would be here as well. I believe we can actually cycle back up. We got a toggle it available here. So at the top, again, you can filter what you see on the calendar. So I'm going to toggle that on, and then we'll cycle back. And you'll see here's another one here that wasn't previously showing. You can also toggle by plan type, and you can do hourly, PTO, salary, sick. Different plans that you have available can all be toggled here for filtering on the calendar. Now, as I said before, there were 3 ways to get to the section for managing time off. The last way is actually here in the calendar. It is this little blue button labeled Manage here. If you click on that, it will take you into the Manage Time Off section. And we're actually going to stick here now and go over this. It is important to note that at the top, there is a filter for the time off requests that are showing. First is the status filter, which if you change to approved, it will only show approved, pending, or denied. It will filter only to those as shown. Here is the date filter. If you want to view only in a specific window, you can adjust the dates. It is important to note that if you do change the dates here, you do want to click the reload button so it reloads the PTO requests accurately. Now going over the options here at the top of the Manage Time Off section, there is of course a print option. You can print this list to Excel or CSV. There is an approve selected or deny selected option. And by selected, it is talking about the little check boxes here. You can see I can choose all of them by selecting the first one at the top here, and it highlights all of the requests. You can choose individual ones, so you're not choosing them all, or just one if you so choose, and approve or deny based on that. Now, before you approve or deny, you should, of course, look at the PTO requests, and a lot of the information is here in the columns. You can see the employee name, the plan or type of PTO that they're taking, the last rate of accrual date that they've had, when they last accrued PTO, their current balance, which is, of course, important. You want to make sure that they have a balance before approving time off. It shows the request date, so the date that they're requesting off, how many hours, and the employee notes section is what they actually entered when making the PTO request. You can see the section here, status. This is showing that these are still pending. If they are responded to, they will have the user or supervisor that responded to the PTO request here, and the requisite date if they responded. Now, if we're looking one by one instead of trying to do multiple at once via this option here, you would select the one you want to look at. You can come over to the right. There is a little eyeball icon here. You can use this or the pencil icon to view in more details the request. You can view all of that information and make a requisite decision on whether you want to approve or deny. And if you want to approve, it's as simple as selecting the little blue thumbs up here. If you want to deny, the little red thumbs down here. There's also a third option, which is cancel. This is an option where if the employee submitted a request and it's not something that they need any longer, you can remove it via canceling it here. It is important to note that if you cancel it, you can still track canceled requests so they don't just disappear forever. There is an option to track canceled here. Now let's go ahead and approve one here. I'm gonna go through and approve this one. Go through and you can leave a note why you're approving it if you want. and click approve request, and it shows employee request has been approved. Now, if I go to the approve section here, you will see the one that I just approved is actually right here, and it'll show who approved it and the date that I approved it, which is today. That is pretty much the entire package as far as the manage time off screen goes. There is another portion we're going to view in the employee list as we go over the employee list next. As we go through the tabs, there will be a time off section there that we'll go in, take an in-depth dive for. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into the next section, which is the employee list. So you can go home to the dashboard first, or you can, of course, just click directly to the employee list. We will not be reviewing onboarding today. That will be in a future presentation, and we will have a recording available if needed. So let's jump into the employee list section here. And this employee menu contains the employee list, obviously. And this is where you would utilize employee management as far as multiple features and looking at employees' information. You will notice that the first button here is an add button. Again, this is a button that would take you to the onboarding section, so we're not going to review that today here. There is the settings option here, which lets you add or remove columns as you see fit. I'm just going to go ahead and toggle on the middle name here to show you what that looks like. So it does add a column. I'm going to go ahead and remove that again just to keep it a nice clean screen for us. There is the print option, which we saw also in the PTO request section. Here we can print to Excel, CSV, PDF, and printer. We have filters over here to filter the employee list by status. We can do all statuses, active, pending, all of these possible ones. So for example, I'll click terminated, and it will bring up the list of any terminated employees here. I'm going to jump back to active. We also have a filter for the department section. So if you want to view employees just from a specific department, that can be done here. I'm going to go back to all departments. And of course, we have a search function. If you have a ton of employees and you don't feel like filtering through and searching through the list, you can simply start typing their name. And any employees that contains the string of characters that you typed will pop up here. I'm going to go ahead and go back. And we're going to actually jump into John Doe here. And there are two ways to do that. You can either double click on the employees line here or click on the eyeball icon. And I'm going to go through these one by one, tab by tab. Access to these individual tabs does depend on the user security associated with your login. So any client-specific setup that may be required, we will work out with you if you do not have access to something that you feel you should. First is the profile here. We're going to look at the general information. There is the employment status information, pay information, etc. Several boxes here. But there are two important things I do want to point out on this window here, and that is the edit button here and the edit future pay. First, we're going to look at the edit button. Once I click on that, you will see lines pop up on several of these sections here. This indicates that they are editable by you. So you would be able to type into any of these sections. The ones that do not contain a line and are grayed out are not able to be edited by you. Now, if we were using the edit button here and we wanted to change the pay rate, so for example, we were going to change it to 20 here. If you save this using the edit button, it will save based on the date of which you made the change, which would be today. I'm not going to do that just yet because I do want to show you the edit future pay button. So if I click on this, you'll see the only section now that is editable is the pay section. You'll notice we do currently have one pending future pay, which we'll see in just a second, but I'm going to make another one. So I'm going to change this to 21. And then once I make the change to the rate that I want, I will click save. It'll ask you what date you would like this change to take effect. I'm going to go ahead and move it to February 12th here. And then After you select the date, you can click submit, and it'll tell you the employee data has been submitted, and it will update on 2/12/2024. You'll see now that another pending future change has popped up here. You can view that via the eyeball icon here. The one that I just made would be this one, the bottom line here. You'll see the effective date was 2/12, which I selected, who it was created by, and the date that it was created. You can also expand this and see the rate that was changed. Now, being as there are two future changes here, that may be unintentional. If you accidentally make a future change and you need to come in and remove one, you are able to do so. It's as simple as choosing the change you want to remove, going to the right-hand side here and clicking cancel change, and then you can enter a reason for the change, and you can put something just for a note on why you're removing it. You know, it still says two pending future changes, but if I go to the next tab and come over here, you'll see it's back down to one. One quick thing I did forget to touch on when we first got to the section here is when you're viewing an employee and you're on a certain tab, you can actually cycle through the different employees you have in your employee list without going back to the list itself and selecting them. So if I were to choose next, it would go to the next employee on the list and it would stay on the tab that I was already on. So it's very useful in terms of navigating. Now let's go ahead and jump to the tax setup. This tab contains the employee's tax declarations for federal, state, and local status and withholdings. There is one tab for federal tax here. There's one for state tax and one for local tax. Again, you can select the information here and the rest of it will populate over here on the right-hand side. Next is the direct deposit section. This allows you to view and update your employees' direct deposit configuration, of course, depending on your security. Important to note that the bank name and city name will auto-populate once you enter the routing number here. If you want to view one that is already there, you can click on that here and see the information. Again, here is the time off section that I mentioned earlier. So there is a bunch of useful information here. You'll see, of course, it shows the 3.08 remaining here. That is important to note. But if you look at the bottom here, it shows current balance 35.08. If you hover over each one of these colors on the little graph here, you'll see blue stands for scheduled time. So it has not yet been taken, but it has been approved. And then orange is for requested time that has yet to be approved. Green is just time that has not been requested or approved. So total, their actual balance is 35.08, but they have 16 hours scheduled and approved, and then another 16 hours requested. And they have 3.08 just untouched. You'll notice a very useful tool here down at the bottom called View Future Balance. I'm going to click on that. And what it allows you to do is view the employees' accrual balances at a future date. It is important that you do set a future date. You'll see this is on a past date here, just from a previous entry I've made. If I try to calculate using a past date, it gives you a quick warning, letting you know that you have to use, of course, a future date. So let's go to 1/31. I'm going to click calculate, and you'll see a lot of information pops up here on the screen. It goes pay period by pay period here. It shows the balance over here. This is the primary area you want to be looking at. You'll see the balance increases pay period by 1.54, which is the accrual rate here. But you'll notice it drops down to 16 here. This is because this is the first day of a new year, and the PTO plan setup only allows for 16 hours to carry forward. So you'll see this column here, 20.62, that is carry forward lost. So those are hours that were not used that could not carry forward. And then again, it continues to accrue 1.54 each week until we get to this one here. It does accrue another 1.54, but it had 16 hours taken, or it has 16 hours scheduled to be taken via PTO here. And then again, there is another 8 hours on the next week, and so forth. So you can see you can go very far in the future, and it's a very useful tool as far as calculating employees' PTO balances. Again, we can print this information to Excel, CSV, all of these different format options up here. very nice tool to have. There are little mini tabs within the time off section here. This is the plan section. It just shows you the different types of PTO that are available for the employee. If they have more than one, they will be listed here. You can click on each one and view the details of that plan over here on the right. The transaction screen shows any transactions that have taken place involving these PTO types. And then, of course, there's the request section, which shows this individual employee's PTO requests. Next, we're going to jump to the scheduled pay section. And this section contains the recurring pay items added to an employee card for additional pay. An example of this would be car allowance, per diem, or bonus, anything like that. So if you wanted to add something that recurs on a scheduled basis, you would click the add button, go into this section here, choose the pay type, which of course is customizable. I'm going to choose bonus, and then you can choose at which periods they will be paid out. You can enter the pay amounts and any tracking levels that you want to associate with this pay type. Again, if you make these changes, make sure you click the save button down here on the bottom right before exiting. We'll jump over to the deductions section here. This contains an employee's deductions, benefits, garnishments, all of those. They will be listed here. You can click on them and then view further details on the right-hand side. Same thing for the dependents and beneficiary section here. You can view the list of any that they have listed, click on it, and the information will be available here if they had any. There's the events section, which allows for events. An example of those would be license renewals, certifications, trainings, etc. These can be set up at the employee level with reporting and email reminders available for all events. These are customizable by creating unique event templates to include as many fields with date, amount, text, checkbox, or numeric responses as desired. Again, these are customizable, so we can have multiple options here available for you. And you can choose to have the employee view them if you would like, and you can toggle that here. The attachment section here would contain any files from the onboarding phase, as well as any attachments you have assigned to the employees. You can also upload any employee documents here. It's as simple as selecting the add button, entering the name and the category, choosing your file. You can again toggle if the employee can view or not. The checks section here displays all checks the employee has received through Unique. This is sorted by default to the current year, so we're in 2024, so it's showing 2024. If they wanted to go back further, they could view those here. Again, there's the basic information here, but if they want to actually view the check stub itself, they can click on the little blue eyeball icon right here, and a pop-up window will pop up with their check stub. It is important to note that because there are pop-ups in the portal here, pop-up blocker should not be enabled, and pop-ups should be allowed for this website. The year-to-date section here allows you to view the employee's year-to-date earnings, deductions, and taxes. Again, this defaults to the current year here, but you can cycle between those. Each line item here in the earnings and deduction section you'll see is underlined. These are actually links that you can click and view more information, and you can actually expand that further and view the check stubs again as necessary. And again, that is a pop-up, so make sure pop-ups are allowed on this website. The W-2 section here allows you to view any employee W-2s, 1099s, or ACA documents that have been processed with Unique. There is the allocation section here. This section allows the functionality to automatically allocate the employee's pay across multiple tracking levels based on set conditions. To create a new one, you can simply add allocation here. Once you do that, a screen like this will pop up, and you can choose that when the employee works in a certain department, location, or project here, you can allocate those wages to certain fields. And you can choose the amount here. Again, you need to make sure the total percent is 100, and then you would select save, and that allocation is set up. Last but not least is the multiple pay rates section here. This allows you to specify different pay rates depending on tracking levels. So you would enter a start date for that multiple pay rate here. You can enter a stop date, but you do not have to. It can just be a start date. And then you go to add pay rate, and you can choose whether they work in a certain department, a location or project, or any combination of the following, and which pay code. So we'll go hourly. So if they're working in the executive department and working a certain project, we can make the pay rate a certain amount. And once changing that, it's as simple as clicking save again, and that multiple pay rate is saved for the employee. Those were all the tabs in the employee list section. And now that that's section is complete, along with the PTO section we viewed earlier, I do want to go ahead and wrap up today's webinar. I would like to remind everyone that if you think of any questions now that the webinar is over, you can email those over to clientrelations@uniquehr.com. I would also like to give one final reminder to keep an eye out on your email for future trainings that get scheduled. That includes a schedule for next week, which I believe was just recently sent out. So from myself and everyone else here at Unique HR, thank you once again for joining us, and y'all have a great day.